Thank you everyone for logging in. My name is Stephen McCursey. I'm a corporate partner at Gowling WLG, and I'm based in Toronto, Canada. If you don't yet know of our firm, Gowling's is a full-service international law firm with over 1,400 professionals practicing out of 19 offices around the world, all of which are outside of the United States. We're very pleased to be a gold sponsor for the ACC's annual meeting again this year. And as a sign of the times, we've embraced a wellness theme for our sponsorship. We've hosted 2 other sessions this week, one on managing overwhelm and the other focused on nutrition tips and advice, both in the context of adjusting to challenges posed by COVID-19. These sessions will be available on demand and shared with attendees after the conference if you missed the live presentations. We also have a raffle underway for a Peloton bike, again promoting health and wellness. So if you haven't already dropped by our virtual booth to register, I'd encourage you to do that tomorrow and to say hi to our professionals who are in our booth from home. Now, it's unfortunate that we're not able to do this particular session in person for obvious reasons, but we are excited to offer you a virtual tour of Old City Philadelphia, led by Rich DiGiacomo, who is a tour guide with City Running Tours in Philadelphia. Rich, thank you very much for joining us and for leading this tour. I'm going to turn it over to you now to explain what's ahead of us over the next hour or so.
Yeah, thanks for having me. As you said, sorry we couldn't have you here in person. We would have loved to be running in the city with you right now. I was able to get out for a run and videotape what would typically be a part of our tours in Old City, Philadelphia. And some of the most historical sites in our country. I hope you enjoy the video. I have some other introductions and a closing at the end. Hopefully this will motivate you to get out there and explore. So please enjoy it. If you have any, I'll be around at the end of the video if you have any questions. Hello, welcome to City Running Tours, Philadelphia. Well, my name's Rich and I'll be your tour guide today, bringing you through the most historical areas of Philadelphia, the birthplace of our country. I've been a tour guide with City Running Tours for almost 10 years now. Born and raised in Philadelphia, I've been running in the city almost my entire life. Come join me. Coming up to South Street here, originally the southern border of Philadelphia, before it expanded south and northward into the 6th largest city in the country today. It was originally called Cedar Avenue. Our very innovative and creative founders of our city in the mid-1800s decided, oh, we keep calling this the Southern Boulevard because it was the southern border of the city. Why not rename it South Street? You'll see a few other creative tidbits in the coming miles. Over the next few miles, we're going to be inching our way into old historical Philadelphia. We call it Old City here in the city. Everything is old here. And also, we take a lot of credit for not just the oldest things, but some of the first things in the country. And one of our founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, we account for most of that. You'll find later on, we really love Ben Franklin here. So this is called Head House Square, with a nice marketplace in the back. And it's an original structure from the mid-1700s, and one of the very first firehouses in America, where Benjamin Franklin created the modern fire companies, modern-day fire companies. As you can see, my horse-drawn carriage would have gone into the head house. Today it's used for an open-air market. There's a outdoor yoga class going on there today. Everything's popular outdoors now with the pandemic. So yeah, it's beautiful to have 200 to 300-year-old standing structures, original from colonial times. perfect example of colonial architecture and innovation. Can any gentleman relate? Oh, wow. This beautiful building, colonial building, was the original Man Full of Trouble Tavern. And this building was just a half mile or so from the true downtown of the original city back in the 1700s. But it was far enough away that it was a quiet little tavern and stood the test of time. It's the original structure. As you'll see later, there are certain historical buildings that unfortunately did not survive the test of time. This is currently owned and operated by University of Pennsylvania archaeologists, and they're studying brewing history. They found brewing artifacts over the years. And as we'll see in just a couple of minutes, it's right off of a street called Dock Street, which there's a brewery in the city called Dock Street Brewery, which brews excellent ales of historical value in the city. This was its original location. They have a beer called Man Full of Trouble Porter in honor of colonial brewing. You see a big brewing history in this city, as I'll highlight at multiple points along the tour. And here's Dock Street. Watch out for the cobblestones. Primary way of paving streets, colonial times. Watch the bumps. Dock Street used to be a creek filled in over the centuries. But as you can tell, it was a primary access point for boats. Coming up, having a beer, going back out to the Delaware River. Just beyond the historical area of the city, we have two war memorials in Philadelphia. This is the Vietnam Memorial, and across the way, in a minute, you'll see the Korean War Memorial, which both honor over 1,000 men and women who died or were missing in action of the two wars from the immediate Philadelphia metro area. Ceremonies happen here during all the major holidays every year. And here we are at the Korean War Memorial. As you can see some depictions of the war. Information about the soldiers and their location in the Delaware Valley, Philadelphia, Delaware County, Chester County, Montgomery County, their branch of service. We thank them and all our military veterans. We open up, back down Dock Street. Well, I did mention Philadelphia's brewing history, and this building holds a lot of history. This is City Tavern. Now, as you can see, established 1773. Unfortunately, unlike Man Full of Trouble Tavern, just down the street, this is not the original building. It was unfortunately burned down, but they replicated it exactly as is in the early 1900s, or as close as they could get it. And it is known that this is the location of the favorite bar or pub of the Founding Fathers. And that's, you can see that in some history books and some texts, that just over that way was Old City, where our city government was located, or back then, pre-revolution, where the British government was stationed. And the Pennsylvania General Assembly would not have wanted to convene and talk about a revolution out in public court areas. Here they came for a pint of beer and said, let's start a revolution. How appropriate. Speaking of the rich brewing history in the city, not just in my opinion, but in theirs as well, one of the most prominent breweries on the East Coast is Yards Brewery. And they partnered up with City Tavern to brew a handful of beers called Ales of the Revolution in the style of the Founding Fathers' favorite beer. named them after Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and George Washington. They originally sold it exclusively at this restaurant, and now it's open to the general. They have it on sale for the general public, the Ales of the Revolution. And this restaurant, I come here as often as I can. It is excellent food, run by Emmy-winning chef Walter Steib. And everybody's dressed in colonial garb. It just brings you back 250 years. Excellent food, excellent beer, excellent atmosphere. The dining place of our founding fathers. Right across the street from City Tavern, it's this nice pictorial of the city. If you've never been to Philadelphia, maybe you've seen it on a map. We are a grid city. It was innovative at the time when the city was founded in 1682 by William Penn, whose father was the namesake for Pennsylvania, and the city Philadelphia, city of love, brotherly love. And this is just a nice marble layout of the original street grid of the city. You can even see some of the original street names. I mentioned Cedar Avenue is now South Street. I'll highlight some other streets down the line. We have a nice park system in Philadelphia called the Fairmount Park System. The city of neighborhoods. And every person in the city doesn't have to go more than a half mile to get a public green space to exercise in or picnic in or for kids to play in a playground. It's a great place to be overall. I'm biased. I've lived here my whole life. But I welcome you to join us sometime. So here we are, Philadelphia's Irish Memorial. Now, well, Philly isn't perfect and history isn't perfect. My wife, 100% Irish, would always get upset if I get this wrong on the tour. So here we go. Let's explore Philly's Irish Memorial. And Philadelphia and Ireland have a deep history. And this memorial is an excellent depiction of life in the old country and the life of an immigrant. And in the mid-1800s, there's something called the Great Famine. Millions of Irish immigrants immigrated to America. And obviously to this day, 150 years later, we're still talking about immigration from all over the world. Philadelphia has since, back then and still today, welcomed them with open arms. And ever since, Philadelphia has, in fact, the second biggest Irish population in America. Can anybody guess the first? I'll give you a hint. Their basketball team has an Irish symbol. That's it, the Boston Celtics. We'll give them that. But as I mentioned, my wife and her family included, has an excellent Irish tradition here in the city and influenced the culture over the years, along with many, many other immigrant groups to this day. Sláinte. Welcome to the Merchant Exchange Building. What was once the precursor to America's original version of Wall Street was a trading post. And as you also could imagine, right along the banks of the former Dock Creek. Think 1700s, no railroad. Primary source of everything, of life, was the river. Merchants would bring their goods and their stockpile and their money in from the banks of the Delaware River from the Atlantic Ocean into Philadelphia, once the hub of commerce in America. And what a fitting segue into the building in the distance, which is being renovated, which is America's first national bank, the first federal bank of the United States. Anybody see a Citizens Bank commercial lately, or their former slogan? Alexander Hamilton, the father of modern banking. He did a lot more than was highlighted in that play. And that is true. He was America's first Secretary of Treasury, influencing American banking system very heavily. Come take a walk with me in the path of the Founding Fathers. All original. We're behind the First National Bank. walking into some of the most revered areas of the building of our democracy here. Welcome to Carpenter's Hall. This building holds a special place to me, as not only was this instrumental in the founding of the United States of America, holding the first Continental Congress and the shaping of our Constitution, but it was also founding place of my alma mater, University of the Sciences. It was the nation's first college of pharmacy 200 years ago. There's hope to have a reenactment of the signing of the charter here next year. And University of the Sciences now is one of the nation's and world's premier healthcare institutions, as I am an alumni of the physical therapy department. Look who I bumped into.
Good day. How are you all?
Good day, sir.
Have a good day. Enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you very much. So unfortunately, the gate is closed today for some reason, but this is the entrance to Benjamin Franklin's home, just beyond that tree. How appropriate that it is right across the street from every important building in the founding of our country, from the bank to Carpenter's Hall. We are right down the street from the Liberty Bell. Our founding fathers found it important to be in and around the active creation of our country. And they were proud of their city. As you'll see later in the tour, Philadelphia has a connection to a few different tombs of unknown soldiers. The most famous in America is Arlington National Cemetery. This is an eternal flame lit for a tomb of the unknown soldier from the Revolutionary War. This entire park, Washington Square Park, is indeed a burial ground of American Revolutionary soldiers. It's a bit of controversy, actually, which is back in those days, it was common for mass burials. So there is indeed British soldiers buried here as well. So it's quite unknown if the unknown soldier is an American or a British soldier's body. Nonetheless, we honor the fallen and the unknown here in Philadelphia, also with flags of the original 13 colonies. Perfect timing. It's 11 a.m. here in Philadelphia. Just imagine being in this open area in 1776 to hear the reading of the Declaration of Independence. That is Independence Hall. The signing took place and the founding of our country. No, that is not the original Liberty Bell. It's way too cracked to ring like that. Liberty Bell is housed in a pavilion just off its original site. Philadelphia was the capital of the United States of America for the first decade or so. Thereafter, Independence Hall became Pennsylvania's state capital and eventually Philadelphia's city capitol building, where its government took place. You can see the wings of the building originally housed the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate, as are now currently held in the U.S. Capitol building. George Washington stands proudly watch. Let's continue down Independence Mall. It's got its nickname a little while back, dubbed America's most historic square mile. Continuing the theme of America's most historic square mile, we are now walking through the threshold of the home of George Washington. And yes, unfortunately, the original structure did not survive. However, archaeologists excavated the site, found remnants of the home. He did, as Ben Franklin did, live right down the street from Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell. Now, no matter where you're from around the world, does anybody recognize this little space here and its unique shape? George Washington, remember, was the first president of the United States, and the capital was Philadelphia, not Washington, D.C. yet. But what was constructed for the second president, and every president since, for them to do business? Yes, the Oval Office, an original part of George Washington's home, which is where he did his business in his first term as our country's first president. His home is actually also a very nice tribute and historical perspective on slavery in America, as it was fact that George Washington owned slaves. We have to embrace all parts of our history, even the bad. So it's this, along with other sites in the city, is a nice way to honor and remember the enslaved and how it has shaped our country since. There's still more work to be done. Who has heard of a penny saved is a penny earned? Here he is, the man, myth, the legend. The burial site of Benjamin Franklin and his wife and children here in the Christ Church burial ground. We'll see that church up close in a minute, which is the primary church of worship for many of the founding fathers. How appropriate. The man of many words, including penny saved is a penny earned, is right across from one of the three major U.S. mints in the country. Anybody ever pay attention to a United States coin and notice the letters D or P on it? Pick up an American quarter if you have one. P means it was minted in Philadelphia. D means it was minted in Denver. Philadelphia is the largest mint and the supplier of majority of U.S. monetary paper and coin currency. Massive structure. Right across from me, 1700s burial ground. Philadelphia's finest, Engine 8, Ladder 2. There's Ben Franklin in his finest. As we mentioned, he founded America's modern fire company. There's a bust in his depiction. Ironically enough, this bust is made of melted down pennies and keys. I don't know if Franklin would be happy. Penny saved is a penny earned. Anyway. Everybody ready for Halloween? Live from the Betsy Ross house. There's America's original flag. 13 stars, the original 13 colonies. A lot of controversy surrounding Betsy Ross, aside from the fact of whether she was the actual creator of America's first flag. She was also a Quaker, which is a religious group from England looking for religious freedom. She was divorced and remarried twice, which was against their religion. She is buried outside her home, although that's a bit of controversy as well. She was buried outside the city originally. Her body was exhumed and brought here soon thereafter. Controversy exists as to whether that was her actual remains. There's questions as to this was actually her home or not. and whether or not they knocked down a home in this area here and kept the wrong home. Public records maybe weren't very accurate back then. It's a shame that she was thrown into this controversy, but we honor her nonetheless, and America's first flag. Here we are at Christ Church. As I mentioned earlier, this was the congregation that the founding fathers, many of them, including George Washington and Ben Franklin, worshipped at. Originally, the Church of England, then became another denomination, of course, after the Revolution. We broke away from England. This is the original structure from the 1690s, and it is the oldest church in Philadelphia. Ironically enough, it wasn't until the 1750s that the church steeple was built. But what is really cool is that the steeple from 1750 to the 1850s was the tallest structure in all of North America. And anybody remember from the Irish Memorial, mid-1800s, the Great Famine, many other immigrants from around the world flooded into Philadelphia, making it one of North America's largest cities at the time. This is before Ellis Island. This is before the Statue of Liberty. And immigrants would have heard the church steeples and saw the steeple from miles downstream from the Delaware River as immigrants coming in from the Atlantic Ocean. Sort of the precursor to the Statue of Liberty for immigration in America. Still an operating congregation to this day. Welcome to Elfrid's Alley, dubbed America's longest continually lived on residential street. Homes, original in construction and continually occupied since the early 1700s. Now that's a 1752, and that symbol in particular has great meaning, as you'll see many plaques along the building. That plaque in particular is America's first fire insurance company, founded by none other than, anybody want to take a guess? Ben Franklin. Now, a bit of shrewd business practice isn't reserved for the 20th century, as it was often commonplace that the local fire company, which was unregulated, wouldn't put out your fire unless you had fire insurance. Or a fire company would own a fire insurance company, and fire companies would compete for the job. Then your house would continue to burn until one of the companies ceded to the other. Yep, that's shrewd practices for you. Nothing new. Grand courtyards flanked most of the homes. Very quaint, very dense urban population back then. It still is today. It's a very beautiful neighborhood to live in the city, right down the street from colonial America. And all throughout the city. Even in my neighborhood, I live a couple miles south of the downtown area. Built the homes in that red brick style. Consistent with the era and the times of Philadelphia, you'll still see 1700s brick, 20th century brick. Let's keep exploring. We are just going off the beaten path a little bit here now, away from Old City. Excuse the loud noise as I'm under the highway, however. You'll see the river in the distance. And numbers. November 03, 8 meters. (1999) 9 meters. Going east towards the Delaware River, the majority of this is all landfill over the years, as were most industrial cities at the time. They just built and built. So this is a nice artistic depiction of how no man-made land will hold back a river. And they are historical flood stages of the Delaware River. Many people may remember the landfill that was southern Manhattan, where the World Trade Centers are, is all landfill. Superstorm Hurricane Sandy flooded downtown Manhattan. You can see the elevation. Nothing holds back Mother Nature. Let's go explore the Delaware River more. Welcome to beautiful Race Street Pier, nestled under the Ben Franklin Bridge. The bridge was built in 1926. It was slated to be the largest suspension bridge in the world at the time. The 1920s saw a boom in bridge building. It was quickly surpassed. But it is one of our primary connections here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to New Jersey. And it is a prime example of many pier and riverfront areas that were reclaimed from industrial use during the height of the Industrial Revolution. Philadelphia had a strong involvement in that. Right across this little harbor is another example, Cherry Street Pier, an old warehouse converted into an open-air art gallery and beer garden. You'll often see photo shoots, or as we see now, probably wedding shoots, outdoor yoga classes on the pier. It's a great place to watch our New Year's Eve fireworks. They're set off from a barge in the middle of the river. They're a unique vantage point that people can see from up and down the river. Here's our other major bridge in the city, the Walt Whitman, in the distance. Really staying safe. Nice view of our skyline. It is a beautiful day to sail a boat on the Delaware River in Philadelphia. Speaking of sailboats, we have that little beauty docked right here in Philadelphia. I'm talking about that boat. I'll talk about that one in a minute. That boat right there is the Mooshaloo. And the Mooshaloo is a 4 wooden masted sailboat built about 120 years ago. It's one of the largest 4-masted boats built, and it's still afloat today. It has sailed all over the globe and now sits as, in my opinion, one of the best seafood restaurants in Philadelphia, right there on the boat, up on the deck, inside the bows. A beautiful highlight to a beautiful Delaware riverfront. Let's explore some more. Further south along the Delaware River here, or right next to the Mooshaloo, these are 2 beautiful vessels in the United States Navy. And I think this is one of my favorite images of all the riverfront. So not only are we standing directly in front of the USS Olympia, this is the United States Navy's oldest battleship that is still afloat. This was built in the 1890s, served in the Spanish-American War and World War I. It has the honor and distinction of carrying back the body of an unknown soldier from World War I in Europe to be buried in our Arlington National Cemetery, where we have tombs honoring the unknown soldiers from all the major wars. And the juxtaposition of being right across the river from the large cannon battleship right there, which is the USS New Jersey. That battleship was one of the United States Navy's largest battleships ever built for World War II, an Iowa-class battleship. Just an amazing feat, And right here is both his museums along the Delaware River. America's largest naval battleship, America's oldest naval battleship. Pretty cool stuff. Even better, and a nice personal touch here, is the USS New Jersey was built right here in Philadelphia at our U.S. Naval Base in South Philadelphia. My grandfather was a welder during World War II. He was just old enough that he wasn't able to serve in the military, but he was a darn good welder, as were many men and women in the Philadelphia area who helped build ships during the war. Two beautiful pieces of history here. Well, everybody, that concludes our tour of Philadelphia. Wait a minute. Am I running in circles? Oh boy. I am going to be a man full of trouble if I don't get home before lunch. Don't tell my wife. Have a great day, everybody, from the State of Brotherly Love. Hello, welcome back to the end of our tour. We are at the beautiful Philadelphia Naval Yard. Things are starting to change colors already here, and we got some beautiful outdoor artwork that I'm going to highlight in a little bit. As I mentioned earlier in the tour, we saw the USS New Jersey, which was one of the U.S. naval battleships built here during World War II. Proud to say this is where my grandfather worked during the war. It's mostly public open space now, beautiful place to come and run and walk. There's some aspects of military life still here on the base, but it's no longer official U.S. naval base. So as we begin here, I just want to mention mindfulness. There was some talk of that. And the idea behind mindfulness is that it's unique to each individual person. However, the concept is that you are have a clear mind, you're one with yourself, you just a peaceful state. For traditional sense, it's typically heard of being meditation or yoga. For some people like myself and many people that I know, it's just going out for a run or a walk. So consider doing that for yourself as a break from work. You can have mindfulness in any form and fashion. I'd love to suggest a run or a walk. And so after ending our tour, if you're at home watching this virtually, we regret that we couldn't have you here in Philadelphia, but I'd like to lead you through a simple stretching routine that could complement your own walk or run. Maybe if you're in front of your computer now, you can get up and do this with me. We're just going to keep things to 10-second stretches, and I'm just going to cover different areas of the body. Thinking you might have just run or walked, or you're sitting in front of your computer. I want everybody to stand up and just stretch over your head and count to 10. Just elongating your body, opening up your shoulders. Good. And touch your toes for 10 seconds, stretching the hamstrings. Good. If you're able to follow along, please do so. You can open up your legs and stretch each hamstring individually for 10 seconds by touching your toes. Go at your own pace. Go as far as you can. Don't push it if things are achy. You can do this before and or after a run, a walk, or a workout. Or in the middle of a workday and you need a break from your computer, if everything's virtual these days, we should be up out of our seats at least once an hour. Stand up tall and stretch our quads on each side. This is a nice backdrop to stretch. You need to hold on to something for balance, please do so. Depending on where you're at, you can always grab a seat. For some stretches, first we'll kneel down and call it a lunge stretch. Some people call it a runner stretch. Leaning forward, keeping your back straight, stretching your hip flexor. 10 seconds on each side. If you can take a seat for a butterfly stretch, or if you can't take a seat or not comfortable sitting on the floor where you're at, you can squat down and push your knees separate for a butterfly stretch. Same effect for the inner thigh. Take it kneeling. Child's pose. Coming down for a nice back stretch. Stand back up. Take it up one more time. Getting the last bit of sunshine for the day. And that's a very simple, well-rounded stretching session. Talking about mindfulness, anything that you can incorporate into your day, whether it's before or after exercise, before or after, or during your workday, sitting down for a long time. I hope you enjoyed it. I think we're going to be having a brief Q&A session soon. If there's anything else that you have, questions or concerns about the tour, about Philadelphia, or about mindfulness or stretching, please don't hesitate to ask. It is indeed a beautiful fall afternoon here in Philadelphia. And oh, look what I found here. We are not too far from the Philadelphia International Airport, but we are still in the Philadelphia Naval Yard. And this is just a unique piece of art. And there are actually 6 different art installations that are currently in the Navy Yard in different areas. Here's just a little screenshot. You can pause if you want. But basically, codenamed Mimosa. Learn more about Mystery Island and marvelous occurrences of spontaneous art at the Navy Yard. This is a excellent prime example of outdoor public art in Philadelphia. As I highlighted on some parts of the tour today, some outdoor public art pieces. It is a known fact that Philadelphia is home to the largest collection of outdoor artwork in the country. We take pride in the arts and highlight it as much as we can in forms of statues, public art, private art, museums, outdoor sculptures, and just nature in its beautiful art form. So I hope you enjoyed it, and please consider the next time you're in Philadelphia checking out some of our beautiful art.